like same website. Is this website adopting like changes of Netlify?
Yeah. We are using the Netlify build. Because the other PR that was merged the same day, that is working. This one. The navbar thing is not working, and not only that, the word menu shows as well.
Like in the original code which I got by forking it, there was nothing, the word menu was not written anywhere.
I know, I realize that. Because in the previews as well, it's not visible. But on the main side, it is.
Okay, so me and Anirudh can like inspect this issue, and we will like get back to you, and we will notify you if we found something. Maybe some classes are overwriting. So yeah, maybe in include folder there are many classes associated with Stellar nav. So yeah, I think that might be the case.
Okay, yeah, that'll be great. If you guys find something that is.
You might, yeah, the other thing you might do is just to try to build the site now and then confirm if there's any differences between your local build and Netlify. And also then you can do the review if there are, if you are seeing the menu locally. So
like I tried on my local build, it is working fine. Like it is not showing any menu icon, and it is like adopting the changes Anirudh did. So yeah.
Yeah.
In my local build, it is working fine. It is not showing that menu icon or something.
Nice. Yeah, it might be. I missed all of but on that pull request, have there been multiple commits?
I've made 2 commits.
Okay. So the second one, it might be the case that I'm sorry, if you go back to the conversation tab, is there only one preview link or are there multiple? Is there one after the last commit? I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
On this one, I think this one gets updated. Even if you do multiple commits, only this one is the.
One other item to explore, down below in the checks, the build checks, is there another hyperlink under a details link? If you go back to conversation tab and you scroll toward the bottom.
No, it is not showing as it is merged. So yeah.
So yeah, I guess, boy, we're really on a hunt. So I guess, yeah, if you go back to the checks tab and then you go to the Netlify section, is there, and you click on
preview build or something.
Yeah, mixed content maybe in this case. Anyway, the point is, like, there's oftentimes two links. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're different. Pages changed. Like, do you see anything under that second hyperlink?
Bhai Raja.
Yeah, like choose that second hyperlink if you would.
Second hyperlink. Wait, you mean this one?
Yeah, if you would. And I don't know.
In case of cat night talk, we only get one comment for the bit. It gets updated itself because in that case we are directly using Netlify. So we don't get multiple previews for multiple commits.
Oh, I see. Nikhil, do you know if on the subsequent commits, if we're having Netlify rerun?
Yeah, it reruns and updates the first message itself.
Okay.
So basically, the first message where it adds the preview link, that itself gets updated with the latest changes.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So Abhijay and these guys are just wrong. I mean, yeah. Okay. So there's something going on. Another thing that might rarely happen would be, well, so that was there's the local build, there's the deployment. I'm sorry, the deployment preview or the preview deployment. And then there's the actual build that would be done subsequent to that. And that production build, maybe it didn't work, like maybe it didn't. So it normally, so Nikhil, I don't know if you know, but in this case, so we're using Netlify for preview builds, but then the production build, I'm assuming that we're just using GitHub.
I have a doubt. Like as Devapriya said, we on that day we also merged a PR. So maybe in that PR we didn't like upstream those changes which is done by Anirudh. So that might be the case. Like maybe those changes got reverted back or something. So yeah.
So it's door number 1 that you can. It's usually it's a lot of times it's like operator error like that, and it seems to usually be me that's the one that's messing it up. But congratulations, and it's probably you guys. Sorry to interrupt. I thought we would look for another link, but yeah.
I think we should check this out after the call. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so lately it's my topic. So lately we've been trying to improve the SEO of our site, to improve the rankings. And the first thing which we are planning to do is change all the image tags to the static image tags. Now I tested it out, and I think Abhijay is working on the
home page. Yeah.
Sorry.
On home page, yeah, I'm working on home page images.
Yeah. Abhijay is working on the home page. Now, I haven't created an issue for this yet because I think it'll be really difficult for one person to go all over the site and make changes to all the images. First, because it's not as simple as changing the image tag to static image. There are certain styles which get modified, and that is why every time you change it, you have to actually go and verify that it looks exactly the same as it is now. So what I thought I would do is created this spreadsheet where we can probably track which page, like we can go page wise, and I'll take up the community page. Abhijay is already doing the home page. So we can divide the work like this, and maybe by the end, I think this will make it a little faster. Separate PRs, and by the end of this week, probably cover all the major pages. One thing which will be left is the individual blog pages and the resource and everything. So that we can probably group it up later, but first we should cover all these pages and probably check out the speed. Like after each PR is merged, probably come and see if we are actually making a positive impact. So anyone has any suggestions of how else we can do it? If this works, I'll share the link to the spreadsheet in the meeting minutes. And if you guys are interested and you want to work here, which will be very helpful, you can come and write your names down here and start with the PRs. Just to tell you quickly what this does, how this works is basically there are certain attributes by which you can make the entire page load, and the images will load later on. Like it does not wait for the image to load, and that will increase the page speed. Static images used for the images which do not change, like the ones which you're just importing and using an image tag to display on the page. This one is used, Gatsby image is used for dynamic images. So right now we're looking at only static images. So yeah. So any volunteers and any other suggestions? We'll just pause for a minute for you guys to ask your questions.
I am thinking of like adding all the resources and stuff, like how we are doing this, how we are changing images, and what are the static images, so other contributors can also like contribute to these changes. Like if I am working on homepage, like Anirudh can take any another page if he wants or something. So yeah.
Even Lee suggested, I just saw that we should add it to the contributing docs, which I'll do, but that is for the future. This is for the existing pages. Like that is for the future PRs, right? For the contributing docs. This is for the ones where we already have the image tag and that needs to be to the static image tags. So people on this call, if you would want to volunteer, just add names over there. Or I'll put the link here. You can add it. Any questions regarding this?
Yeah, I think Aditya is raising his hand.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, were you calling for volunteers, or were you just saying, is there any other comment?
Both for that.
Both. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. It's early. It's Monday. It's like 7:15 a.m. It's early. It's raining outside. That makes it even worse. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, this is really rather important. The work that the website Layer 5.io represents all the projects that go on. So more or less like all the work that goes on across all the projects. It doesn't rank as nearly as high as it should for people who are searching for the projects, that are searching for problems that the projects fix. There is a litany of reasons as to how SEO works, or Google's algorithm for ranking works. And actually, if you dig in and assist here, you'll learn some of that. Maybe depending upon how much you dig in, you'll learn quite a bit of that. But performance of a site certainly affects ranking. And so there's been a couple of issues that have been open for a long time on this topic. And Devopriya is advancing us in that vein. So I expect this is probably one of a few different types of performance improvement, SEO optimization efforts. They'll be quite impactful, and we'll be measuring them as well in terms of ranking for specific keywords or the current domain authority that the Layer 5.io domain has. Backlinks, there's a bunch of measurements that are happening. So. Cool. And for Leonard is on the call. Leonard is recovering. Leonard, I muted you just because of the background noise, but feel free to unmute. It was really nice to have Leonard on. Leonard, but I don't want to steal his thunder or anything, but he's been remiss not to be in a few of the calls and kind of active on a few issues. Was in a car accident, if I recollect correctly, and just and has a number of injuries, but he's been recovering. So obviously recovering to the point, Leonard, that you're back on this call. So that's good. I hope your knee's doing much better. So yeah. Good. So actually, speaking of these very issues about SEO and site performance, Leonard was tackling a portion of this in the past. So very timely for him to join. Leonard, the first bullet point under Layer 5.io, something for you to chew into, to dig into a little bit. Devopriya will add a link to a spreadsheet that's going to track some of the work. So it's good.
Okay, so anyone else has any other suggestions? If not, now you can like dig into it and get in touch with me later on. So another topic which I had was related to resources. So initially, when we first made this, we had tags and categories, which we do not anymore. But the thing is, we still use the category over here in the URL, and we use the tags and categories for the related resources. Now, since we do not show it from the user side, do you think we should change the URL to not include the category and probably something else from the filter, probably type or something, and similarly modify the related resources, or do we just keep it as it is in the categories?
My vote is for the categories, not because it's more, for a couple of reasons, the most significant of which is SEO. Precisely for that. It's a little less helpful. Like if the category is service mesh, great, that's very helpful. That's very telling in terms of the content that's there. If it's interviews or news, or that's still telling, but it's so generic that it's less relevant. So yeah, there's been an open question that I've had for, I don't know, about 1.5 years, I suppose, on reuse of content. So if the same content is available under a category as well as under a tag, does that negatively affect rankings? Sure, there can be the canonical URL that maybe can help with some of that. Anyway, the point is, like, I for my part, I would say, like, yeah, we would want to have it published under categories and under tags. It makes the site more usable because people can choose different ways to navigate or discover other content. But if having duplicative text is a negative, it ranks negatively, then that would be dangerous. We wouldn't want to do that. If it doesn't, and if it doesn't, good. If it does, but you have to manage a canonical URL so that you're telling Google, this is duplicative, but here's the original source, and that's okay, then fine. Then I would suggest that we have tags and content both. I would suggest that in the resources, like on the cards themselves, it might make a fair bit of sense eventually. Oh, I guess. So we're putting the category type on there. So that's the first one is of type blog. Second one is of type demo. That's good. Yeah, it might be that we would. So by the way, anyone else is welcome to chime in, especially if you know the answer to the question that I'm asking about duplicative content. But coming to understand the actual answer to that question might be the most informative to answering your question, Devapriya, about where to categorize the stuff. Because like the blog post, for example, right now, are we including regular blog posts? Are those listed in the resources as well?
So in order to avoid that, I added another field called resource yes to the blog post. So basically only the blog posts which count as resources, excluding all the experiences and everything. If we add that resource yes tag, only then it is pasted over here. So right now,
okay.
content-wise, this page is not ready because I do have to go through all the blogs and add which one is a resource and so on. But that is how it works.
Would anyone like to take that as a piece of research? Like, it's something that for my part, I've perpetually not gotten to. But so the question is, if you've got the same piece of content published more than once, does that hurt? Does Google reflect poorly on that?
Okay, but in our case, the URL remains the same, right? Like even if we open this under the tags or under categories, this changes to the category and the name. It does not involve.
and then even if you open that, so if you navigate to this blog post from resources, you'll still end up at the same URL.
Yeah. So the URL remains the same. I don't think it's like taken as a duplicate. So
I think you're right. I think you're right. That's good. Good. I still have that same question, but that's actually good. It's immediately comforting that we're not doing it twice. But the thing, as going forth, there's a ton of content that we need to publish about cloud native and service meshes. There's a ton, and yep. I wonder. Nobody wants to take that as research. Last offer.
I will give it a try.
Okay. Nice, Abhijay. Okay. All right.
Yep.
okay. So next we have Abhishek's topic. Is Abhishek on the? I don't think. Add beta source code. I haven't looked into clear design. Since he's not on the call, I think we can like circle back to this one and probably review it on the PR itself. Deepayan is also not on it. Okay, so Deepayan's one I do have like it could be open to questions right now. So these are certain changes which I suggested based on what he has right now. So basically his button looks like this, and I think it merges, like it is not very distinguishable with the rest of the text. So I suggested using the green button that we have, the custom button, in order to influence this. Now another thing is like the clear filters and this does not look good together, like it's not good. So one thing which I told them to do is change close filters to apply filters. Like, and we could probably have two, like in mobile view, we could have two buttons side by side. One is for clear all filters and one is for apply filters, and something which does not look like this. So yeah, that was most of what I said for now. Anyone else has any other suggestions? Also alignment issues.
Yeah, it's a bit weird in general, or yeah, completely what you said. There's two buttons that are duplicative of each other. It's a little, I don't know where it's placed. It's not centered. It's not off to the left. It's not off to the right. It's like a quarter of the way into a third of the way into the page. It's not necessarily, I don't know. It's almost too subtle, because it's just a piece of text. You don't know that it's clickable. And also, what does it mean to, well, okay, so we're saying that there's an action. You want to open filters, like, okay, we could, or you could just say filters, or you could, anyway, yeah, it needs distinction. And your feedback has been really good on the PR. We were unabashedly taking inspiration from hashicorp.com/resources. We could do a double check as to what they do there, and then maybe do
even do they do the same thing. Like part of my feedback was after them. So they have open filters and then they do clear filters, apply filters. But I think they open, yeah, that is what.
Yeah, but they have a blue hyperlink that makes it look like it's something clickable. So yeah,
That is what I suggested. I suggested them to use the green button that we have that ensures it actually inside the button.
Instead of like we are using a close filter, we just make the icon of the cross. It's simple also.
I think I've heard it.
I am audible, right?
Yeah.
So I was just suggesting that it's written like close filters. You can just remove filters and just write close. If that can be helpful.
That could be, but first we have to come up with a better design. So you can review it. Experience. Any other suggestions? Okay, so I think it'll work. I've already reviewed, and if you have any other, you can do this here. We'll probably look into. Next is Aditya's topic. Aditya, you're on the call, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You wanna share your screen?
No, yeah, you can share it. That's just a PR. I just need to discuss the PR. So in this PR, in the patterns page, I've shifted the create button from bottom of the table that was previously placed at the bottom of the table to the top of the table. At first, this is the prototype at first I made because as it was mentioned in the issue. But after certain comments and with like Lee suggested that we should make a button in compliance with the current measure UI. So later I changed to a blue rectangle box just up top left of the table. Yeah, this is the latest one. So I think this is the final state that we were expecting. Or should I also add the plus sign on the custom toolbar that was previously stated there?
This is a good. So if I'll state an opinion, but other people can chime in. Aditya, I would say this is a solid step. That is an improvement, and in an iterative fashion, you could go forth with this. It would be accepted, and then you can muddy your way through the rest of that more complex discussion with which is going to result in like, hey, we need to have a design because it needs to be a holistic consideration. And so, that doesn't mean we don't do it. You just need to do it.
Continue. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, the Aditya, in the PR, he suggested a design that I was also looking to implement the same thing. And I think maybe after merging this PR, I can work on that a little bit. It's a little bit of I was thinking exactly the same.
And then I pointed out what's wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then don't go implement it because I'm gonna point out the same stuff, and then I'm gonna choke you for not having incorporated my feedback, and then.
So this is the final state now. There's nothing more to update in this PR.
Oh, nice. Okay, so this one's good to go because it just has a new button, right?
Yeah, a button at the top left of the table.
Nice. And then we should go jump into Aditya Chatterjee's design and further it. The thing about it is it's a slippery slope because what'll end up in a good way. But what will end up happening is that we'll then say, okay, well, hey, what does the table for applications look like? Is it consistent? Are we teaching and training the user in the same ways, to expect a plus sign and for it to do certain behaviors? And then we'll say, okay, and then what does the filters table look like? So hence the design. Probably not much work, really. Just need to be consistent.
There's one more thing I think I pointed out. The table for filter and application, I think, doesn't have a create button. both application and filter doesn't have a create button. I guess it just has the upload file and upload URL button. I checked yesterday, but I don't know if my screen was not loading, but I didn't see the create button there.
Okay, a create button where on the underneath the patterns table?
Applications and filters page.
Cool. And that was,
Applications and filters.
that was at the top left of the corner?
No, there were no buttons for creating applications and filters.
Okay, yeah, which kind of, yeah, which, so technically all we're really supporting is like importing.
Yeah. I mean, there were URL and file upload button. Oh,
Which, so that makes sense right now, because right now we support importing, not creating.
okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. So this PR is ready to merge then, I guess.
So next up, we have the RSS feed. So the news and the blog one has been merged already. This PR is left for the resources. Now, one question that I had is, are we like putting in a different subscribe for these like blogs or something? Because right now, this one takes us to this page. So are we allowing the users to subscribe to specifically say the blogs or news resources, something of that sort? I don't think you will.
Wow, I keep letting myself get distracted. So on the RSS feeds?
So I was asking if we need a new subscribe button or something specifically subscribe to the blogs or something.
Other than the small, basically like the wireless signal?
Yeah, so what this does is take us to this page.
Oh, I see.
This was the intention, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I realized that like RSS is almost dead. It's like a still breathing, it's kind of laying on the ground after people have kicked it. So it isn't necessary. Yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah, that was the intention. It could be we don't have a specific call out to say subscribe for new blog posts, which, you know, hey, we could do. Hopefully we do have a call out that says, if you scroll down on the right hand side, does it basically say, it says subscribe to the newsletter? Maybe we should change the verbiage there to say to new posts.
Subscribe to receive updates, something.
Yeah, subscribe for updates. Yeah. But yeah, I guess suppose you're in Chrome at the moment. So when you click it, you get XML, which is like, if you're in Safari and you click it, by default, Safari will tell you, hey, well, I don't know how to read this XML, but you might want to install an extension, a plugin that does. So maybe some people have an extension, a plugin, like almost no one will, I'm sure. I don't know, let's focus our energy somewhere else. Like it's about as good. I mean, like hell, that's the way that if you were older than 30, that's how the internet used to work. Now, maybe that's not what we should do. HashiCorp does it, which is one example of like, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, do we have a tooltip on it that if you hover over it, does it say anything? No. I mean, like, that might be something to do, is to just have an alt tag that at least lets people know it's an RSS, subscribe to the RSS feed.
That we can do.
I recognize my response was like, if you objectively measure what I just said, it's kind of a crappy response. It's sort of like, well, that's how the internet used to work. It's like, well, that's a dumb response. Like, okay, why would we keep doing this? Like, we don't do, we're not doing old stuff just because, like that doesn't make sense. All right. Is there another way to help clarify to users that like, I don't know, something to not let users land on what looks like a broken site, like just a bunch of XML and code in their face could be, or in Safari, like where it just says, sorry, can't read this. And people might assume that it's broken. You could offer up a modal that says, that basically says, hey, great, here's two choices of subscribing for updates. This is an RSS link. And so click here use your RSS reader here, add this link to your RSS reader. And the other one says, enter in your email address. Is it possible? Like the reality is, like, for my part, the reason I was giving kind of a crappy answer is because I feel like we should spend our time somewhere else. But something like that modal might work, because you could then suggest, like, if you'd like to subscribe to RSS, we could make it convenient. Like, here's the direct RSS link, which will maybe work, maybe won't for some people, but then it could also say, like, I'm sure that tools like feedly.com or others might make it easy to have like a subscribe to my RSS button, like using Feedly, where you pass in your URL. And if they have a Feedly account, it would, I just think it's we're sort of at a point of diminishing returns. Like, I think that your questions about the resources is something to spend our time on. That's more of what we should spend our time on. The SEO stuff, the litany of, like, what is Lighthouse looking at and why? Why are we not using the Sharp plugin in Gatsby, or we are, but we're not doing it right? Like, those things I think will have a much greater impact. I think that so by the way, just the motivation behind creating RSS feeds was more or less, there's kind of sort of three reasons why. The biggest reason was because the way that we're able to, because some of the systems that we're using to help tweet something out or share something, they will leverage an RSS feed. So it's convenient for us to be able to have an RSS feed for blogs, for news, and kind of, hook into those systems. That's the biggest reason. The second one is like, I think maybe it adds something nice to the site where it doesn't just say blog. It's blog and there's something else. And then the third one is like, on the, the 2% chance that there's a 40-year-old out there somewhere that actually has an RSS reader plugged in. Or that, like, actually, I don't know that I don't think anyone on this call probably knows this, but to fully explain, if you visited /contact, there is a there's a web-based form where you can contact us if you're having problems or questions, or you can email us. But the contact form, there have been, I don't know, quite a few people who've submitted this. And one of the very first ones that was submitted was, I forget the guy's name, here in the US. He was asking for an RSS feed. Then that's when Meshmate Nikhil stepped in to actually create the first RSS feed. And so there are, in fact, people who look for RSS, and in fact, people looking for it on our site. So, for what it's worth.
So we've covered this already. If Shubham's topic left. Shubham, shall you go?
Yeah. So this is the error codes table. So initially we had an like we needed to update the layout of the error codes table. So like there was a suggestion that we made it like something like this that we have in the compatibility matrix. So yeah, so this is the table that we now have, in which if we click like user don't have to go through all the error codes, like only to which he wants, like he wants the component type adapter and component name mesh linker D, then he should be only going through that component's error codes and nothing else's. So yeah, that's what I've done here. So any reviews or anything else which we can do here?
When we click, it doesn't look like there's a new codes open. It doesn't very distinctive. You can't tell that much difference when you're scrolling so fast.
Okay,
Like
so
adding a little difference would be great.
okay, so we could have like different background here.
Different background would also won't look good.
Maybe a little indentation.
Or maybe we could remove this component time and component name from the rows which opens afterwards when we click. Like we won't have anything here, and only this.
Yeah, that could work.
Oh, okay.
Cool. I can't believe, does anyone else have suggestions? Yeah, I guess UX is like incredibly hard. Shubham, I'll shoot it to you straight. This is not an improvement. It's actually probably a step backwards. So there. Now that I've completely insulted you, let me suggest some stuff. So thanks for taking this on. It's not an easy task. There's a ton of data here. And if you're trying to kind of keep things within just CSS and not pull in a bunch of JavaScript and stuff, then that's even more challenging. So this is a good challenge to take on. This one kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever gotten a writing assignment where someone says, hey, here's 2 paragraphs. You got to convey all the same info, but in 1 paragraph. How's that? How can I be that concise? That's kind of our challenge here. The reason I say that it's a step backwards is because it's not obvious that today, if you visit the site, you'll see that there's the error codes are grouped by component. So if you're interested, if one component is failing you, you go to that area and then you look through the error codes there. Here, it isn't necessarily, I don't know that the columns are sortable. Moreover, I don't know that they're sorted by component type. And if that's the leftmost column, you generally expect the leftmost column, things to be sorted on that column first. There's a bunch of stuff here. The primary call to action to kind of refactor is that, like, if you look at the page now, it's quite wide and too long for anyone's screen. The details that it's like, here's the task that someone goes through. They're running Meshery. Think there's an error. Oh, crap, what's going on? I'm not quite sure, but there's this error code. Good, that looks like something that Google might be able to pick. Like, they probably Google it and land on the page and like, okay, well, I'm looking for this error code. So one, the way that error code comes across is if you go back to the left some.
Yeah.
There's the error code 1000. Actually, what the heck? There's like 3 of them. Well, that's not unique. Well, yeah, it's kind of bad. Actually, I don't really like the design anymore, but what is unique is the error name plus the error code. okay, that's good. The problem is when it's presented to a user, it will say the error name -code. And when you try to search your browser for that or search Google for that, the two are not together on this page. So that makes it much harder to find. And you end up, if you search, you're like, okay, well, I'll just search for the number. It's like, well, no, you're going to end up with like a bunch of 1000s. So that's something to consider, is combining error name and error code into one column. That's number one. Number two is, so when someone identifies that, yeah, that's the one, error reset mesh config code 1004, that's the one I'm getting. What's going on here? Okay, that's their first task, is just identifying that that's the one of interest. They can then click to say, I'm interested in more info. So then the more info would be that everything the way that they can, so they can browse easily if we leave component type and component name on the screen. Good, we should leave those. We should make those faucets that they can open up and expand and kind of browse by, sort by. The error name and error code, when those are combined, those are things that they're going to search by. Great, they can either use their browser search today, or if you bring in a JavaScript table that has that capability, great, they could use the table's capability to search. Severity, yeah, they might want to sort by severity, just, but, and the short description, like beyond the, for long description, probable cause, and suggested remediation, everything to the right of short description, it needs to be hidden, go away. That's something that they can click for and say, yeah, I'm actually interested in those details. Otherwise, don't flood me with more things than I can possibly, browse through. I'll tell you, I'll click and I'll tell you when I'm interested in what the rest of that is. And that's actually the point and difference between a short description and a long description. Short descriptions for, space constrained display like this. So try that. So if you would, like kind of, I think the reason that other page was highlighted, the one that goes through the test results, the reports, was under the concept that long description, probable cause, suggested remediation, that those would be things that would be shown in a subsequent row after you click, after you identify that you're interested.
Okay.
There's one thing else we can do, like instead of showing the whole table beforehand, we can like let them have drop downs where we can choose component name and type. Then according to that the table would show up without them. That can be also a nice thing to have.
Yeah, so we had something like, no, we didn't had the drop down. I think we
Maybe like Yash want to say, like we can implement different filters in error codes. Like the table will show up according to filters. We can like have like error code 1000, then only that 3 code which is associated with error code 1000 will show up. Maybe
yeah,
something
so
like that.
we had something like this, in which if we click like on the component name, so we would directly to that table in which, and I get what you're talking about. Like we could have the component name and component, like we could fill that drop down, and then they would
Yeah.
directly direct it to that row, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think that's good, but like I don't know like what are the reviews of all of us about that.
What was the, yeah, that's, I don't know what, I can't really follow what was said, but that's another, it's another place where we step back, is like, you can't quickly navigate by component. And so we should, and so there's I put a link into the chat it's called datatables.net. It's I think that on much to Richa isn't on anymore. So I'll ping her. But I think we have Bootstrap and jQuery in the docs already. I think if we don't, it's not that big of a thing to pull in just this data tables. And it's a good one to use. Like It'll give us a lot of stuff we might want to use. Maybe this is the right thing to use. Maybe it's not. It would give us search. We don't entirely want to paginate. Like that's not, I mean, maybe, but if we were to have one data table per component, that might make more sense. The first goal of what I was really looking for here is to leave the existing formatting, the top level nav by component, and then each component broken down by section. It was to combine error name and error code into one column, and then hide the rest of the details by putting them into a subsequent row that would only be visible if you click on the first row. Like that, just doing that, and that's all through CSS. Well, that's a major step forward. That addresses a lot of things without having to go to something else. Actually, now that I say this, don't do this, because I think that it will be another month before something that we're done. That's not a reflection of you. That's just how this stuff goes. And that's actually why I was pointing to the other example that's right in the docs. It's just an example you can replicate over, hopefully.
Yeah. So Lee, can you write down the 3 points that you just told?
No, please, can you write them down? Because if you can't, and the reason, I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to, this is actually, I'm kind of hesitant to say it like this because I don't want to come off. It's, that's a capability you need to have. Like, if yeah. You can repeat it back to me, that's fine. Like write it down and say, hey, you check out these quick bullet points. Is that, yeah, okay, good. And we should communicate like that. We should double confirm kind of back and forth. So the reason I say no is because at that point, like I may as well just go do it. You know what I mean? And also,
okay. So like this layout is, you are saying that this layout is fine, and you want no. So
I'm saying, like, saying it's backwards. I'm saying it's 2 steps backwards.
Okay, so we would have something like this that we currently have right now, and we would have like not all the columns in the row, like we would only have short description, and when the user click on this row, then only the long description and probable code should be visible. Something like that you were saying.
You're so close. What else did I say? Twice.
I might have missed something.
Okay. All right. Well, to be fair, like it's not 7 a.m. for you. So good. The other thing I said was
in the class. So.
Yeah. So, the other thing I said was it was about the error codes and the error names.
Oh yeah, combine those two. Okay. Okay, so this layout that we currently have right now is fine, but we need to focus on the combining of the error name and error codes, and showing of the long description only when the user click on the row, like on that particular row, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like you.
Okay, so we don't want anything like this layout, something like that. This way.
No, we do. That's exactly what I'm saying to do.
So like right now, like we have this thing that hovering of the of that particular row.
Okay, yeah. So on the current page, you know how it has one section per component?
Yeah.
If we go ahead and leave one section per component, but take the behavior of those test results, that row clicking behavior, and integrate it into the same tables that are present today. So we would still have like 10 or 12 or however many tables.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We can also we should also add a search of the error code, right?
Yeah, we could do that. But first we could like focus on currently what we need to do. We could make another PR for that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Yash. Okay.
So if it's helpful, you can just note down whatever we discussed in the meeting minutes. Will be a record of whatever we discussed.
Sure.
Alright, so we have one more topic left. I did not add this. Okay, this is about the footer. Is Nick on the call? So I think this PR has enough reviews for the time being. We can probably go ahead check that out. I think this is the final state.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's just that, like, I don't know if he hand drew that or what, but it is slightly off. Like, it's actually funny. Yeah, it's like one pixel on the right hand side. It's on the right hand side, it's smaller width than on the left hand side. It's really hard to tell, but I'll bet you $10.
Yeah, it's a bit on right.
Which is, it's like one of those things where
This one is not straight, like not horizontal. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the minutes. I think this is key. So do you want to talk about?
Nikhil, what do you think about that? Does that make sense to do?
Yeah, we can do that. I just need to add that link right along with the text further discuss.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you say, hey, it would be helpful to offer up some text for it?
Yeah, like similar to what we have for the links, right?
Right. Like,
Something like check out our discussion forum also.
yeah. Right. Yeah. Engage in there. Drop your questions. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Sure. So it's not. It's 1 minute. I will do it right away. Okay.
Oh, nice. Nice. Thank you. Yeah. By the way, just so the context for what's being discussed, I know that we're at the top of the hour. The context for what's being discussed here is for all of you that had joined the Slack or joined the community within, I don't know, probably, hopefully, I think for all of you that have joined in the last year or so, that you might have gotten this message. It might have been with a dark mode background. I don't know. Is there anyone that doesn't remember seeing this? I ask because we want to make sure that automation is working. So this would have come from a bot sending you a private message, shortly after you originally joined Slack. Did anyone not get this? First of all, if you didn't get it, like, A, we should go check out the automation, but B, then you might be missing out on some stuff, some free learning that you otherwise didn't know about. Bueller. Cool. Okay, good. Sounds like everybody got it. But yeah, that's the context. So Nikhil will iterate on this. I do think that it might make sense for us, like a couple of weeks after someone has been here, maybe, to send them another message that gives them a link to a copy of one of the service mesh books. Something we could think about too. more work for Nikhil. Of course, Nikhil.
I missed that one. Can you
Oh,
repeat?
yeah, potentially like we, after this change, maybe we would add another one to run a couple of weeks after someone has joined, to send them a link to download a free copy of one of the books. That seems like a good thing to do. One issue might be trying to discern to whom we've sent that link, who's received that message and who hasn't. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Not sure, but like I doubt if there would be any way we could store that information, but we will have to check once. But again, that will again bring us the that API limitation for how many messages we could send in a month or so.
Yeah. Two thoughts come to mind quickly, and bearing in mind what you said about not going over the number of activities and the number of is one might, I don't know if there is such a query or how much this would cost us, but is to say, give me a list of the users who have joined after, or give me a list of the users who joined after a certain timestamp, a certain date. And that date would be just like a rolling, it would be joined 2 weeks prior to today. And so we would just kind of keep a rolling, so we wouldn't actually track state. We would just figure out, who's new, kind of a thing. That's one way. Now, if that takes 15, calls to figure out, then maybe that doesn't work. The other way is to potentially use a stateful system like MailChimp. So if folks that sign up, if they get dropped into an audience there, or rather not MailChimp, but the spreadsheet. If folks that sign up, put them, enter them into a spreadsheet, just enter a tag in there that says either that uses a timestamp, just like I just said, or that just has another call. There's actually columns in there for, did we send them certain things? And so, that could be used.
Yeah, maybe we can try that one, because as of now, we don't check on when the user joins, right? We check when the user submits the form and only then we send the message. So we can use a similar approach in that case also, to check the Google Sheet for the time frame when the user joined, when the sheet was updated, and then plan the message accordingly.
I'm just full of like great ideas today. It's just that, and if Shubham was here, he'd probably slap me. But so cool, cool, Nikhil. Yeah, that sounds like both of those things sound like something to potentially explore.
Okay, I think we are done with all the topics today. I've shared the link in the meeting minutes as well for the spreadsheet. You guys can this out. Okay, so thank you for joining. I think it's the third time I'm hosting this week. People are probably bored of hearing. Especially Dev Call will be hosted by someone else, so don't worry.
Think about that. Somebody else might want to host next week. I'm pretty sick of listening to developer.
No, I meant from the newcomers call. Some of them have been hearing me from newcomers call. Go on.
Okay, good. Yeah. By the way, on the newcomers call, lots of so Yash is a name that pops out as like having been around quite some long time, worked on various things, learned, cut his teeth on some Gatsby stuff and other things. Like the newcomers call is a great place to share that back with others. You'll learn it more. People won't make the same mistakes. People, it'll make the newcomers call even better. So for all of you, give that some thought if you would. Doesn't have to be a big share. It could be something like Shubham saying, look, I don't know if you knew this was possible. You can take Jekyll and take a collection, and you can iterate over it and do, like, you can just show something small. It's just nice to show give some tips. People have the same questions over and over. Shubham could say something like, look, we've kind of been round on how to represent data, and this is a style that we've been trying to use. And so, I've noticed there's a couple of other pages. We've got a number of collections. We have a collection of adapters and a bunch of info about them. Like, there's other collections in there. The pages themselves, I'm sorry to say it, but the docs need a little bit of an overhaul. So anyway, a good opportunity for you all to share back in the newcomers call.
So bye bye. Thank you for joining again.
Thank you, Devapriya. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.